My breath hitched, a silent, frozen gasp, when Ms. Albright's gaze landed squarely on me. The air in the 10th floor conference room, usually cool and crisp, felt suddenly thick and scorching. "And what?" the lead investor from Pillar Ventures asked, leaning forward, her tone cutting through the quiet confidence of the presentation. "Does the newest mind in the room think about the long-term risk? We need an unbiased ground floor perspective." My hand was already rising. The complex 2-year financial projections I had personally stress-tested, buzzing in my head, ready to be articulated. That's when I heard the voice, smooth, condescending, and infinitely more cutting than any critique. "Stay quiet, you're new. We have this handled, Ms. Albright." It was Marcus, his arm extended across the table as if to physically restrain me, a saccharine, dismissive smile pasted across his face. My hand froze midair, then slowly, agonizingly clenched into a fist under the mahogany table. What the hell just happened to her? The meeting ended in a flurry of practiced, triumphant handshakes, all of which Marcus monopolized. He found me lingering by the whiteboard, still trying to cycle fresh air back into my lungs. He clapped a hand, heavy, familiar, and utterly disgusting, onto my shoulder. "Good girl, Anna. Didn't want to overload the investor with too many details? Don't worry, your name is on the internal documents." He winked. But as the IT team cycled the final presentation down, I saw it, the footer of the final slide detailing the critical growth projections. The signature line had changed. Where my initials, AB, had sat just yesterday, there was only the single, bold name, Marcus Thorne, Director of Strategy. It wasn't just a slight, it was a professional theft codified in a PDF. I didn't cry, I went cold. "My name is Anna Bellwether. I'm 29. I was hired 6 months ago as a senior strategy analyst, and that $20 million funding deck, the one Marcus just claimed as his own, was my entry ticket." It all started when I realized that in this corporate world, brilliance is a magnet for the arrogant. The brutal fluorescent light of the deserted office hours later made the polished floor feel like cold glass. I was packing my laptop when Theodore, the senior marketing VP, materialized. Theodore, a quiet man with kind eyes, had slipped me crucial data points a month ago when Marcus had tried to block my access. He avoided my gaze, shuffling his feet. "He does this, Anna," he murmured, his voice low. "He preys on the new ones who deliver." He didn't offer sympathy, but a small folded yellow post-it note. I felt the stiffness of the paper against my palm as he pressed it into my hand and walked quickly away. Unfolding it, I saw only 6 characters scribbled in haste, 03/15, third quarter. It was a date I didn't recognize in the current fourth quarter strategy. I didn't go home. I logged back in, the quiet hum of the servers a dull counterpoint to the raging fury in my stomach. 03/15, third quarter. I cross-referenced the date with the detailed logistics schedule in the comprehensive strategy document, the part of the plan Marcus insisted I scale back on, saying it was too conservative. My fingers flew across the keyboard. There it was, an obscure late-stage material delivery deadline that, if missed, would trigger a massive $1.5 million penalty fee based on the contract terms. I had flagged the aggressive scheduling weeks ago. Marcus hadn't just ignored my warning, he'd actively pushed that deadline forward to make the fourth quarter delivery look faster in his stolen projections. A pit formed in my gut. No one who understood logistics this well could make a $1.5 million mistake unintentionally. I needed a motive. I started simple, checking the company's internal vendor database for the logistics firm tied to the delivery schedule. Global Transit Solutions. A quick search of the firm's ownership revealed the name of the majority stakeholder, Bernard Sinclair. I searched Sinclair's name. Hours later, buried in old company newsletters and wedding announcements, I found it, a photo of Marcus and his wife, smiling next to an older couple. The caption read, "Marcus and Eleanor, with Eleanor's parents, Bernard and Clara Sinclair." My hands trembled. A deliberate logistics flaw, designed to profit his father-in-law's company. It wasn't a mistake, it was fraud. I let a slow, cold smile spread across my face. "This isn't just a mistake, Marcus. This is a conflict of interest. This is my opening." I walked into the office before the sun was up. Calm, methodical. I printed the company's full, legally binding ethics and conduct policy. Then I printed the logistics contract. Specifically, the page detailing the ownership of Global Transit Solutions and the penalty clause. I folded the papers neatly. I left one copy, secured under a heavy coaster, on the desk of Mr. Davies, the CEO, a man known for his rigid, by-the-book ethics. The second copy? I tucked it subtly under a pile of old project files on Theodore's desk. 2 leaks, 2 possible sources, 1 undeniable truth. I need the information to surface, but my hands had to be clean. Later that day, Mr. Davies called me into his office, ostensibly to discuss a smaller, unrelated project. He was cordial, but unusually intense. He steered the conversation with clinical precision. Anna, your previous work showed remarkable detail on supply chain risk. Hypothetically, if a partner company were to miss a critical 315 delivery, what would be the realistic, worst-case scenario on the penalty side? He was testing me. He'd seen the papers. I kept my voice measured, neutral. Based on the standard XYZ 2023 contract terms, Mr. Davies, the penalty for that specific delivery date would be a $1.5 million fee and a mandatory 3-month halt in operations until a new provider could be secured. No accusation, just facts. He nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. The atmosphere around Marcus thickened like glue. The CEO's sudden interest in logistics had him panicked. He cornered me by the copier, his voice a low, gravelly demand. I need all your original source data for the Q4 deck, Anna. Compliance is demanding an immediate audit. He was using the CEO's inquiry as a shield. He looked visibly ill. I maintained perfect eye contact. Of course, Marcus, I have it all ready for you. I handed him a thumb drive. It's encrypted, just a standard security protocol. Marcus couldn't open the files. He called me at 10 p.m. His practiced charm had dissolved into raw, sputtering frustration. The decryption key isn't working, Anna. I need this data for the morning update. I apologized coolly. Oh, I am so sorry, Marcus. The key is on a secure physical drive at my apartment. You know how strict company policy is about sensitive data leaving the premises. I can send it first thing tomorrow morning. A moment of cold, satisfying silence stretched across the line. The delay was crucial. He would have to wing the morning update based on his unreliable memory of my work. The next morning, Theodore arrived at my desk with a proper latte from the shop downstairs. A significant gesture in our cheap office culture. He didn't mention the post-it. Instead, he praised my unbelievable foresight regarding the logistics schedule. He leaned in conspiratorially. Marcus demanded I print that final deck last week, the one with only his name on the footer. I saw you looking at it. He looked pained. I also saw that old email chain where he told you to ignore the 315 risk. I can easily clean up a few old files and make sure the correct version of that email is... He trailed off. He was offering to provide the official evidence of Marcus's malice. The follow-up meeting with Ms. Albright was small, tense, and focused solely on logistics. Marcus was trembling slightly as he began his presentation, trying to mitigate the $1.5 million risk by vaguely promising vendor flexibility. He was sweating, confusing the figures and the dates. He stumbled. Ms. Albright held up a hand, silencing him. She looked directly at Mr. Davies, then at me. Mr. Davies, is this the analyst who authored the initial schedule? I'd like to hear her exact findings, unfiltered. I stood up, adjusting my jacket. This was the moment of quiet, professional decimation. I didn't speak to Marcus or the CEO, only to Ms. Albright. My tone was clinical, my facts undeniable. The initial strategy, before recent modification, I stated, hitting the final 2 words with quiet emphasis, was built to avoid this liability. The liability is a function of the delivery date change. I cited the contract and the fee. A full internal review of the vendor selection process would be prudent to ensure all conflicts of interest were disclosed. I sat down. Mr. Davies looked away, clearly realizing the depth of the deception and the danger of the conflict of interest. Marcus's face was the color of old ash. The fallout was immediate. The news of the oversight and the potential penalty fee, and the clear implication of the undisclosed conflict, reached the wider executive board within the hour. The senior partners, bypassing Marcus entirely, began to call me directly, asking for advice on damage control and mitigation strategies. My competency had created an unstoppable momentum of trust. Marcus, desperate and cornered, lashed out with a petty move. A mass email landed in everyone's inbox titled, "A Friendly Reminder on Usage." It specifically cited Anna Bellwether for excessive use of office resources for personal work, his passive-aggressive reference to my late-night research, and copied the entire executive team, including the CEO. I smiled to myself, reading the email twice. My reply was surgical. I hit reply all and typed one sentence. Marcus, I was working on the time-sensitive logistics flaw you asked me to research. All time is logged to the Pillar Ventures project. An hour later, I was in the office of HR Director Ms. Perez. She was kind but direct. She didn't mention the email, only the working relationship with Marcus. "We're trying to understand the communication breakdown," she said. I chose my words carefully, Ms. Perez. "I find his management style occasionally prioritizes protection of personal interests over company risk. My professional opinion was suppressed in favor of a riskier, potentially costly approach." She didn't press for more. She had what she needed. Ms. Albright, the investor, didn't pull the funding. She was too smart to punish the company for one bad employee. Instead, she issued a mandate to Mr. Davies. The next tranche of funding would be released only if Anna Bellwether was installed as the official, hands-on project lead for the strategy implementation. The company hadn't fired Marcus, but the investor had. Marcus found me in the break room, vibrating with impotent rage. "You planned this! You deliberately set me up, you little analyst!" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't react. I poured myself a glass of water, slowly, deliberately. I looked him dead in the eye, my gaze steady and cold. "No, Marcus. I simply presented the facts you chose to ignore. That's your strategy, not mine." I watched the last reserves of his arrogance crumble. He stormed out, defeated not by my anger, but by my truth. The company tried one final Hail Mary to protect their reputation. Mr. Davies offered Marcus a lateral transfer to a non-client-facing role and a handsome severance package, if he resigned quietly. Marcus's hubris, his fatal flaw, took over. He rejected the offer and, in a fit of self-pity, emailed a scathing letter to the entire board accusing me of professional sabotage. His pride gave the board no choice but to terminate him for cause, effective immediately. Mr. Davies called me in immediately. He offered a sincere, weary apology for the toxic environment. Then the offer, Marcus's old job, director of strategy, a massive salary hike, and a mandate to build my own team. The underdog had won the title. I accepted. I shook Mr. Davies' hand, the victory a strange metallic taste in my mouth. I had the power, the title, the salary. Yet, as I sat at Marcus's old desk, the office felt tainted. The walls held the echoes of petty rivalries and suppressed ideas. I won the battle, but the war was still the culture. I realized my worth was too great to be defined by his defeat. The victory felt hollow. Marcus's for-cause termination, coupled with the underlying conflict of interest scandal, was an ugly secret that couldn't be kept. The news leaked to an industry newsletter, focusing on the lack of severance and the legal exposure to his father-in-law's company. The market reacted swiftly. The company's stock dipped, and because his termination was for cause, Marcus's substantial stock options immediately vested and expired worthless. He lost his reputation and his accumulated wealth. The call came from an unknown number. It was Ms. Albright. She cut right to the chase. "Anna, you managed the crisis perfectly. You exposed the flaw and protected the investment. I'm not calling about this company. I'm offering you a VP role at Pillar Ventures, a 7-figure salary, serious stock, and a clear path to partnership." The ultimate validation. The very investor who witnessed my humiliation was offering me the future I deserved. I drafted 2 documents at Marcus's desk. The first was a detailed, perfect 90-day plan for the next director of strategy, my successor. The second was my letter of resignation, effective immediately. My pen paused over the paper. The revenge was complete. I proved I could do the job. The true final victory would be proving that I didn't need this job. I handed both documents to Mr. Davies. He was genuinely stunned. He pleaded with me, listing every perk he could think of, promising to change the culture. I met his eye, my resolve unbreakable. "Mr. Davies, I came here to build something. I won't stay somewhere that tries to silence me for the benefit of a weak ego. My focus is on building, not fighting." I took my laptop, a small box of personal items, and walked out. I stepped onto the street, the sun a warm blessing on my face. I opened my phone, deleted the internal company chat app, and, with a deep breath, tossed my old ID badge, the symbol of my humiliation and my triumph, into a public trash can. I hailed a cab, the smooth, heavy business card from Pillar Ventures warm in my hand. I told the driver my new address, the one near my new corner office. Marcus lost his job because he was arrogant enough to steal. I walked away because I finally learned my worth was too high to be stolen.